Hi, I'm Monica, your host for Real Talk and Real Estate. I'm a licensed realtor here in the state of Maryland, and I would love to help you buy, sell, or invest in your next home. The purpose of this show is to provide a roadmap to real estate, and I will be inviting colleagues of mine in the industry to come share their experience and expertise. Today, our special guest is Adrian Wilcox, State Farm agent. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Monica. Thanks for the invitation.
My pleasure. I've known Adrian for some time now. We were previously in the banking industry together, and we also have something else in common. We have a natural rivalry. Adrian here is a proud graduate of North Carolina A&T State University, Aggies, and he's not alone. There's another Aggie here in the studio today. I graduated from the one, the only, North Carolina Central University, Eagle Pride. And I'm truly excited. This week we're celebrating homecoming, and all roads lead to 85 South, as you know. So definitely excited to go back home. In the words of Dorothy, who wore the first red bottoms, there's no place like home. So today our topic is insurance. Adrian, can you tell us what inspired you to help people with insurance?
Well, Monica, as you mentioned, I previously used to work in the banking industry and graduated from North Carolina A&T and spent 20 some years working for someone else and also helping people in the banking industry, which was a passion of mine. I love helping people. So, however, I didn't feel like I was totally satisfied, and helping people in the banking industry was phenomenal, but I wanted to work for myself. If I could make other people wealthy, I felt like if I decided to do my own business plan while helping others do their business plan, I could work for myself, which I chose to open up my own State Farm agency in the Washington, D.C. area in Largo, Maryland, where I'm able to help thousands of customers on a daily basis. So I look forward to helping people in insurance and their financial services needs.
That's excellent. I'm so proud of you
Thank
and
you.
you opening your agency. So I was doing a little research prior to the show, and apparently only 57% of Americans have life insurance. What do you think about those numbers?
Wow, I'm surprised at that number that you found. How did you find that number?
I Googled it.
Okay. I don't think that number is correct. Maybe in context, 57% of people may have a life insurance policy, either theirs that they own or through their own company, which is typically a group life insurance policy. A group life insurance policy you don't own. So if you leave that organization, that policy stays with them, even though you're paying on it throughout your paycheck. So you typically don't own it. The numbers statistically, I can speak for State Farm, only less than 17% of our policy owners own a life insurance policy with State Farm, which is dramatically different than what you quoted. So I would beg to differ with that number. However, life insurance is critically important.
Absolutely. Why do you think so many people are underinsured?
Underinsured in general or life insurance?
Really, more so life insurance. You see
Life
so many
insurance.
times that, it's hard enough to lose a loved one,
Sure,
and then to
sure.
have the burden of the financial struggles that come with that. Why do you think people aren't really buying enough life insurance?
I think for several reasons. I think just historically, I think that in our community, particularly our parents prior to us being stable individuals, probably have been taken advantage of. That's number one. And I think that passing that down to your sons, our daughters, we're a little reluctant.
Okay.
That's number one. Number two, I think that most people think that life insurance is expensive. And to be quite frank with you, it's not that expensive. I think it's a miseducation that people think that it's expensive when it's really not. A general term policy or a whole life policy depends on the amount of money, your health condition, and a male or female. It just really depends on four basic things. So people shy away from it because, lastly, they don't think they're going to die, or they're just not preparing for that, and it's very unfortunate. So It's very affordable, and the way that I work with customers, I try to meet the customer's budget, what they can afford, and also meet their need long term.
That's a great point. It's so funny that you said that. People really don't think about their mortality, but we pass the cemetery every day, so people are dying out here. So for folks who have kids and either they're married or even for single individuals, are you finding that more married people come in to get a quote, or does it varies?
It varies. I would say the predominant number, and I guess my approach to my client base is not just thinking about cost, but what does it really mean to you to make sure that your children are provided for? Life insurance isn't about Adrian Wilcox. It's not about me, the individual. It's about my daughter and the money that I currently make. How much money will she need for her life and the dreams that I have for her to be fulfilled? And I try to correlate that with customers. If I speak to a woman and I know that she has children, I said, what are you doing to protect your children? God forbid. It's not really if,
But
when something happens to you. And really, when you try to connect the dots about, wow, how much we really love our children, it kind of gives a different impression. But if you just say to someone, oh, do you have a life insurance policy? It really doesn't connect the dots. So for me, I try to make sure that someone, that they're thinking more about them, not just about themselves, but, their children and their children's children and their family and the home that they have. Do they really want that home to go into foreclosure, or would they like to have enough money to be able to pay off that home so their children can have the home?
That's a great point. I've always been a believer in insurance, and in my field of real estate, it is definitely a tool that people can use to protect their assets, and it's definitely part of estate planning. In light of that, can you tell me about a time when life insurance was a lifesaver for one of your policyholders?
Wow. This is really personal for me. I've been a State Farm agent just only under 6 years. And to be quite frank with you, I've only had one policyholder pass since I've been an agent. And unfortunately, it happened to be a personal friend of mine. But she did prepare for, even though she was relatively young, she did prepare for her children's, her dreams for her children to be fulfilled. So many people may know about it, but she passed unexpectedly here in the DMV area, and a shock to us all. And she had 2 children, and I got a phone call from one of her siblings that told me that she had passed, and I was able to execute by working with the family and working with State Farm to be able to provide enough money for her children to go to college.
Wow.
And her children, both of their children, education is completely paid for. And that took a lot of guts on her part. God forbid, that she's deceased now. However, she planned for an unfortunate event like this. And unfortunately, she died way too young, but her children's college education is already paid for and more. So her children don't have to worry about the education that they're seeking to get. One is going to predominantly African American college.
HBCU, okay.
And also another PWI school.
Got it. That's a blessing.
Education is taken care of.
What a blessing. And it's just, having a plan, I think just really, no matter, you just never know. So it's, that old saying, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail.
I agree.
So it's funny that we're on the topic of insurance. I keep thinking about my aunt Boots, who passed a few years ago. She's from New Orleans, and she was up in age, maybe around 90, and she lived a very long life. She was very educated, very well put together, and I remember visiting her in her latter years, and she would have this thing about saying, she had this Downton Abbey meets New Orleans voice, so very proper. And I think somebody must have rolled up on her like at a senior citizens event, and he must have, asked her out for like a cup of tea, and she said, I'll have you know, my husband still takes care of me from the grave. And it's just something that will forever be etched in my memory, because that's the power of life insurance.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
So if insurance was a love song, it would be always and forever.
That's correct.
Right? So this is really how you let people know that you care, by making sure that even when they're no longer with us, that you have protected and provided.
Correct.
So what you're doing is definitely giving folks peace of mind and financial security. Let's talk a little bit about homeowners insurance. As a home buyer, you're required to purchase a policy for homeowners insurance prior to closing on a mortgage, closing on a home. Can you tell us a little bit about what that policy covers?
Sure. So, just some misunderstanding around homeowners insurance. A lot of times, people tend to buy homeowners insurance based on the sale of the home.
Right.
And one of the critical things that most people should know is you're not really buying it based on how much the home is selling for. You're really buying it based on the replacement cost. So you may buy a home that you sold, Monica, to me for $400,000, but the homeowner's coverage may be $350,000, which is the replacement cost of the home. And that's based on the exterior elements, the interior hardwood floors, carpet percentage, granite, corian, so on and so forth. Is the basement completed? Is it carpeted? So on and so forth. So within State Farm, we do an estimated replacement cost, and that's how we would rebuild your home. So that would be the dwelling coverage. Second thing would be your liability. That's if people are coming in and out of your home. If something occurs, you're liable for something that may occur to them. So that's liability. Another critical component of a life homeowner's policy is loss of use. So Monica, you gave an example. If a home caught on fire and you and your family can't live in that home, or if you had a flood in your home and you couldn't live in your home, State Farm, other insurers will put you in another home while your home is being repaired. That's really critical, loss of use. So those are some really critical components to the policy.
Absolutely. And you mentioned flood. I know that topic all too well. So after we take a commercial break, I'm going to share my personal story with that. So stay tuned. We'll be right back after this commercial break.